Thank you, Chairman. I want to kind of delve a little bit deeper in that. Can you name the company or companies that, when you mentioned about this particular document that was signed by someone who apparently had left the company, that was no longer the CEO? Can you name the company or the companies for those particular documents?
I know I have the document for one of those companies.
And which company is that?
The name of the company and that item is the same one related to the dialysis machines.
And which company is that?
That's Jamaican.
That's Jamaican. Is there a similarity? I want to find out.
There are two instances.
There are two instances where the signature appears and the person who supposedly had signed that.
One of the two signatures.
One of the two signatures, the person was no longer.
Yes. Appears to be the person who no longer works there.
So it was possibly forged. We don't know.
I don't know. That is why I've said that alleged. And I don't know. I can't. The police will have to determine that. Yes.
Are the four companies, do they have anything to do with the University of the West Indies Hospital? We know that Jamaican provides janitorial services to the University of the West Indies. Are the other companies that were named in this, the other three companies, do they have any direct employment contract with the University of the West Indies?
Only one, Supreme Laundry.
And
we have done business with Scientific Medical because we buy things from them, and Wilman Sales also.
And let me ask the question. We went to, this is, important to me because I do understand that a number of Jamaicans die each year because they cannot get on a public dialysis machine. I've paid for a number of my constituents to go privately from West Royal St. Andrew to receive dialysis treatment because diabetes is a major non-communicable disease in the country. So when I hear that a company is possibly getting a buyback and making money from these dialysis machines, are they, since they were bought back?
No, sorry. I can correct you. Those.
No buyback.
No.
So wait, you guys jump on this one, Fassi? Well, I'm trying to find out. So those dialysis machines are where? Are they with the university or are they at the company, Jamaican?
As I shared by the customs said that the company stated that they were purchased by them and they are in their possession. We don't have them at the hospital.
You don't have them on?
No, absolutely. They never came to the hospital based on our record.
We heard of furniture. Does that have anything to do with the university and purchase?
No, the furniture. It was dialysis machine and furniture.
So it was dialysis machine and furniture.
Those furniture did not come to the hospital. And based on the customs declaration, based on the customs finding,
that was also not, you were not in possession of that either.
No. And they have given us the invoice with a list of items also here.
Okay.
Just for clarity, the furniture, based on your report from customs, did they benefit from a tax-exempt status?
Yes, it's the dialysis. I just said dialysis because that's maybe the largest of the set. But there are signs, cash card, wheelchair, scale, gloves, shelves. I mean, just various items are on the list. Several items. And that is where the CIF value, the total of that invoice.
What benefit, if any, did the UHWI benefit from these dialysis machine? Is there an arrangement?
None that I'm aware of. And I've not seen or heard, and no member of the team have stated anything like that happening. Nothing on record to show any benefit whatsoever.
So patients don't get any kind of benefits when they go to this place, reduced cost for dialysis?
I'm not aware of that. I don't know of that. I've never asked any patient to go there from the hospital. I don't know of the hospital sending any patient there.
What is procurement role in this buyback arrangement, buying back? What role does the procurement unit department play in the buyback arrangement between UHWI and these entities?
The procurement, Mr. Buckridge, can you just answer that? What role does the hospital play, the procurement department play in the importation of the garbage bins and the crockery?
And the buyback arrangement?
Yeah, those are the two instances.
Sorry,
somebody has
to release the mic so I can.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes.
The buyback arrangement is strange.
I would say I don't want to use the word buyback. It is that we paid for the items after they were imported using our tax exempt status.
I know, but it's the same thing we're saying.
I know, but I wouldn't want to use the. I'm not sure.
You don't want to use the terms.
Yes.
But what? All right. Your answer the question. Can I have a follow up? So answer the question first.
I know, for one instance, the procurement unit had received a purchase requisition along with a justification letter from the head of entity to procure the bins, was to procure the bins. So we got all documentation that we are to use the direct contracting or single source procurement methodology, justification and everything to procure this item.
What was the justification in this case? Is it a specialized bin?
Looking at it, I would not say it's a specialized bin.
Okay. So that's why we asked the justification, because the question I was going to ask in all of these are direct, the two, what we call buyback or direct contracting methods. And I wanted to find out what was the justification for the direct contracting. And secondly, is it the practice? Has the university in the past bought these things for themselves directly, or is it always a situation where they are procured through a third party?
From my experience, we have always procured them through a third party.
And from your experience, has there been a case where we know of before, for this particular case, where the tax exempt status has been used in the past to facilitate this type of procurement?
Well, I can't speak to the tax exemption aspect of it, because the procurement unit does not sign declaration or even C84. We're not in that process.
In doing the procurement, would you have an internal estimate based on your market survey as to what these things should cost?
Yes, we will get an internal estimate from the persons who are sending requests to us.
You would get an internal
we will get an estimated cost, because if you are sending a purchase requisition to buy a particular item, you normally will send an estimated cost based on your market research and so forth.
From the unit within the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And in this case, the age has indicated that one of these ended up being 10 times the CIF value. So my question would be, what would the internal estimate have said for the value of these bins? I assume these are bins that you put like needles and those things in, not garbage bins, right? Medical waste.
Medical waste.
Medical.
Yes.
Okay, so medical waste is something that is procured, right? So the question is, would you have an internal estimate as to what that should cost, and how would that match against paying 10 times the CIF value for it?
Well, we in procurement we wouldn't be aware of what the CIF value is. What we do if we receive an internal estimate from the custodian.
You don't question it? You don't check?
No, let me tell you how the internal estimate plays a role in the procurement process. Internal estimate, and I can go far back to the budget, because once the budget is prepared, you would know, because you would have done your market research. You would have know what it is that if you want to procure a bottle, you would have an idea of what the bottle would cost to put in your budget. So that is where the internal estimate would come from. So once the request is received, the department would get an internal estimate, and once we go out and do the procurement, that whatever comes back, we will match it against what the internal estimate is to see if it is in line with the internal estimate. And if it is too high or too low, then we will ask the department to revisit their internal estimate if it is too high, or we will ensure that what the bidders are bidding, that they are bidding on apples for apples and not apples versus pear. So we'll do that type of comparison.
You know, there's a great coincidence that the internal estimate on at least 2 occasions is exactly what the bidder bid. Just seemed to be a great coincidence. Which is why direct contracting is so susceptible to corruption. I could just call it plain and straight. Where the internal estimate come from? The person who providing the service? Where it come from?
Mr. Chair.
You're going to tell me in at least 2 occasions, the provider's bid is the exact number of the internal estimate?
Can I just... Can I...
Dollars and cents. Not even round up. Not even round down. Dollars and cents exactly, Frank.
Mr. Chairman, an internal estimate can also be determined by the department requesting it, where you have a sole importer, the sole dealer for a particular drug or something into the island, and they are the only one authorized to sell that item in the country.
In this case, these people are the only people? I'm not saying in this case,
I'm saying that it is possible for you to have the same exact thing and it is a sole source because they are the only one authorized to provide that particular drug.
The crockery
No, I'm not saying in the case of crockery. No, not at all. Not at all. There wouldn't be
just a follow-up.
Exclusive dealership wouldn't be.
Just a quick follow-up. I just wanted to have an idea as to how the tax exemption is utilized. How is it normally used within the entity? How does it work?
The hospital is allowed to import items
on its own.
On its duty-free, on its own. That is what it is supposed to. It's supposed to be used in bringing in item for the sole purpose of use by the hospital. And that is where the declarations and so on would come into play. And if it is not, then that is where the breach is, and the customs actually went through that with me to say, this is a breach, why there's a breach, because we have confirmed that the items were not, and under the tax exempt status, it is supposed to be the sole use of the hospital for the sole use of the hospital, and they were not.
Member Morrison, then Member Cousins.
Thank you, Chair. And Member Hamilton, that question is an excellent precursor to where I'm going now. We're talking about the university hospital misusing the tax exemption status. And in the case here, what are we looking at, Chairman? 4 companies? 4 companies on the radar here. And I just want, for persons in constituencies, maybe such as mine, who don't quite understand what is happening here, a simple breakdown: you have a company that can bring in, for my farming constituency, I would say tools, machete, hoe, fork. They can bring that into the country. What is it? With tax exemption. But there are other entities who sell the same thing or who use the same equipment. So then, that entity allows who has the tax exemption, who can bring in the machete, hoe, fork, whatever it is, free, then no tax. They allow other companies who don't have that exemption, who are obligated to pay the government tax, they allow them to bring it in. But this is where it gets bad. And this is in the case of 3 entities now, based on the information that we are gathering. Not only do they bring them in, they turn around and buy back the machete, buy back the hoe from the same entities who they allowed to benefit under the tax exemption, buy it back, and in some instances for 3 times the amount. Chair, my question is, can the PAC call on persons to answer even if after they have left the substantive post? Can the PAC summon persons to appear even after? Right? And I think it may have been Member Warmington, I don't know who, was saying that something maybe should be worked, maybe in the standing order constitution, where persons don't even have the option to say whether or not they want to attend, but they are made to appear to answer the question. Because in this case, with the new CEO, I think that, I won't say out of his depth, but we would certainly have benefited from individuals who were at the helm and who can answer these questions. But Chair, in the interim, I want us to consider whether or not persons who have left entities, department, critical position with a trail of serious breaches, should we now consider whether or not these persons should be engaged in prominent, critical government posts until, at the very least, the investigations have been completed? Thanks, Chair.
Well, to answer your first question, I would need to seek advice as this committee can do so. We respond to reports from the Auditor General. The accountable officer in this case is always the permanent secretary. We have the acting CEO. We know the individuals who would have done it at the time are no longer with the entity. But there are investigations which are ongoing, which frankly, whether they are at the entity or not, sanctions can be imposed on those individuals. Some of these matters are Integrity Commission, but some of them are Customs plus JCF. So that would not preclude whether somebody still works within the public sector. But I share your grief at what we're dealing with, because the same tax that we needed to collect is the same money we're paying to buy back the thing from the same people that we give a break to. It's bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. And what we don't know is how bad it is. We only know about 4. We don't know how far back it goes. We don't know how many companies have benefited from it. And the reason it existed, a hospital is a non-profit institution. And so it existed so the hospital could bring in things for the benefit of the hospital, but certainly not to bring it in for the benefit of a private supplier who marks it up 10 times and sell it back to the hospital. That is the flagrant abuse of it. Member Cousins.